Welcome, mindful performers. Change number 5 in the 5 changes to healthy weight loss, or the 5 changes to mindful performance, is eat well. Last but not least. Why is this the last step? Well, in my experience, we tend to change 2 things when we first try to make changes in our lives, and that is either eating better or adding in exercise. I put eating well at the end of the changes so that you would realize that there is so much more to a healthy lifestyle and mindful performance than just changing your diet. We need to make these other changes in our lives so that we can become mindful of our thoughts, actions, and feelings when we're navigating through our relationships, our career, and our choices with our health and spirituality. Eating well is important. It is key to feeling better, to making healthy choices, to living a long and healthy life. But all of the other steps support making healthy eating decisions on a regular basis. If your relationships are out of whack, or your career is out of whack, or you don't have a true purpose or passion or calling, or haven't figured out, what your spiritual path is, then the eating is very hard to keep on track, because most of those things, when they are out of balance, tend to stress us out. And what do a lot of us do when we're stressed out? We eat, and we default to foods that make us feel better. And what foods make us feel better? Well, the foods that make us feel better are things like sugar, processed fat, pasta, things that aren't necessarily good for the way that our mind functions and the way that our bodies function. So eating well is important. It is last for a reason. Now, specific to eating well, what do we do? Well, the other reason this is last is because most people have done a lot of research and know that there are some basic things that you can do to eat well, to eat balanced. There are also a lot of ways to eat in very specific ways. Things like the ketogenic diet or the slow carb diet, where you may be cutting out some things that other people might feel that are balanced. Things like fruit or pasta or grains, depending on how extreme you're getting. But I wanted to cover today the basics. And these can apply to almost every way of eating, with the exception of maybe a ketogenic diet where you're cutting out almost all carbs. But even then, most of those diets will recommend some sort of cycle where you have some healthy whole grains or carbs within your diet, because we do need carbohydrates to fuel the cells in our body. At some point, we need to replace those carbohydrates with healthy carbohydrates. So number 1 is adding in wide variety of vegetables to your meals. Salads, peppers, all sorts of leafy greens with the salads, not just iceberg lettuce, but romaine and spinach and things like that. Luckily for us, at this point, you can buy a mixed salad with spinach in almost every grocery store, and many of them are organic. So adding in lots of vegetables into anything you make. If you are making chicken, you can chop up onions and peppers and saute that in some avocado oil or macadamia nut oil, and then cook the chicken, and you'll find that it just adds so much flavor and it's so good for your body. The second thing is to make sure that you are hydrated. Make sure that you're eating 8-ounce glasses of water every single day at a minimum. This is key. You can see my other video on this, on what does that look like in a day-to-day or a daily routine. How do you easily make sure that you get all the water that you need? So making sure you're hydrated is very important, because there's so many things tied to hydration. Water, or proper hydration, is number 2 on the survival list. Air, of course, being number 1, water being number 2, shelter and food being number 3 if you're in the wild. So make sure that you're properly hydrated. It helps your brain function at a high level. It helps your body function at a high level. Number 3, I always teach in my mindful performance classes, is cut out the crap. Cut out the processed sugars, the refined flours, anything that is in a box is typically something you want to really examine the ingredients list and take a look and see what types of things are in there. There are all sorts of words for sugar now that you may not have tied to sugar in the past. There's a ton of resources out there that help you identify sugars that may be okay if you're okay with eating sugars, but then there's other ones like, did you know inverted sugar is the new high fructose corn syrup? Who knew? I didn't know at first. I was looking at an ingredients list and realized I've never heard of inverted sugar before. What is this? Did a little research, realized it's not all that good for you. Your body does not respond well to it. So make sure if you're buying packaged foods that you're really examining the ingredients list. This is important and it's key to making sure you're eating in a way that supports mindful performance. Lean proteins is next. Make sure that you're getting in plenty of lean protein. There's all sorts of calculations out there. I'm not a nutritional expert, but you want to make sure that you're getting in plenty of healthy proteins into your diet. Fish is fantastic. Chicken, turkey, certain red meats are fantastic. I know there's a lot of different ways of looking at meat. I happen to be vegetarian at this point in my life, but I wasn't always. And when I was eating meat, it was typically chicken or turkey, occasional red meat. I tried to stay away from it. There's arguments on all sides about all sorts of things, so I'm not going to get into that here. Whole grains is the next thing. If you're going to eat a form of carbohydrates, get them in the form of whole grains. Things like quinoa, brown rice. There's all sorts of new ancient grains that are coming onto the market that you can purchase and try. Cook them in a chicken stock or a vegetable stock to add flavor. It's truly amazing when you simmer those grains in some sort of stock instead of just water, depending on the recipe, of course. Healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, cooking with avocado oil. You want to research the types of oil that you cook with because there's certain oils that stand up to the temperature, like avocado oil, and then there's others that really aren't well served with a high heat. Olive oil being one of them that a lot of times we think is okay to cook with at a higher heat, and it really should be used in salads more than cooked with. So do a little bit of research on the oils that you use for cooking. Healthy fats are fantastic for your health. Those are the tips that I always recommend in my Mindful Performance course around eating well. As I said, I can't stress enough the fact that eating well is tied so deeply to feeling well with your relationships, with your career, with your overall health, and with your spirituality. That is why eating well is last on the list. It is very important. Do your research on the new ways of eating that are coming out. Experiment with them for a week or two and see how they work with your body. If your body doesn't respond well to them, move on. Find a new way to eat. Please subscribe to be notified of new videos. Give this a thumbs up if it was useful to you. And don't forget to eat your cantaloupe.